Thank you all for attending. Now there's another couple of bits of technology I'm going to use during this session, and they are actually polls. To make it a bit more interactive, I would like to make sure that everyone's getting a bit of value out of this session, and so that's why we're starting the polls. And the first poll I think I'm just going to ask Scott to initiate now is about how long does it take to complete your yearly budgeting process. And I'd just like everyone just to take 5-10 seconds to answer one of those three boxes, and we'll just review those answers. It's probably good to get this question up and going straight away. It would be nice to see those. And there we see it. Automatically, we see a result that 84% of you take longer than a month to actually do your budgeting process. And I noticed that no one is doing it in a week. Okay. Now, there's a big timeline there and plenty of efficiencies in streamlining your budget. So I'm going to go through a couple of those processes, and we'll get that ball rolling. So there are a couple of, I suppose, sections or logical places I want to talk to as far as the sections of today's webinar. I want to talk about the experience that Professional Advantage has, and we've got a lot of customers that are doing budgeting and forecasting initiatives, planning, strategic analysis, corporate performance management. I'll talk a little bit about those customers. I will also go on and talk about I suppose, the components that will streamline your budget. And I think collaboration is a very important component. I also think the components of how we analyse a budget, where we look at the calculations and automation of that analysis. And I suppose the last thing we'll talk about is that how do you start and how do you initiate your budgeting initiatives with us at Professional Advantage. So let's go over to the first option here, and let's talk about experience. I suppose it's important to realise that everyone on this call and everyone in any business has different budgeting initiatives. You will notice here that these are some of the customers that we're dealing with, not all of them, I can't fit them all on the slide, but this gives you an idea of the diversity of customers that Professional Advantage are working with, okay? Working with completed budgeting and forecasting initiatives. All of these people have some type of streamlined, I suppose, benefit that they have achieved through the implementation of a solution with us. The other thing that's of recognition here is that our team are very versed in, I suppose, the discipline of budgeting and forecasting. Okay, so we don't care what industry you're from. We don't care what size you are. We've got small clients. We've got large clients. We don't care what areas you want to focus on. You can be assured that somewhere in our mix we have had your requirements dealt with in a previous customer. Which brings us to our next point. Most people, I believe, on this phone call will either be using a solution from Infor Sun Systems or a solutions from the Microsoft Dynamics AXGP and the like. Okay? But that doesn't mean that when we start building up our budgeting that we don't need requirements from other non-financial data. So you'll see there that I've thrown up a couple of names on the screen, you know, a couple of different payroll providers, a couple of different databases, even a couple of different financial systems. If you want to automate those, instead of copy-pasting or requesting data in emails, our solutions actually automate the extraction from those applications, and we can also automate the sending of finalised information to those applications. Now, there's a lot of benefits there in getting all of that data into a single source, and we do it all through the underlying technology and data wizards. You'll also notice a couple of things there on the bottom left where I'm starting to talk about the Australian government and ABN lookups in Google. What I actually mean in those kind of logos there is the fact that we can link to any portal. We can either scrape information from that portal or link to it, or however we can actually interact with that data, and either A, use that in your budgeting process because you might want to check, Australian government statistics on, inflation numbers and the like, and we can automatically extract those and have them reside in your budgeting forecasting model. You might also have some other industry indicators where you'd like your business to actually match against. So the idea is that I don't care what data source you need, we'll talk about it, we'll talk about the best ways of getting it. Rest assured we do this with every single customer to some sort of level or the like. And the technology that we predominantly use, there are two technologies for obviously our two different ERPs that we have inside of Professional Advantage. Of course, the Sun Systems clients, we would always be recommending the Infor solution because it comes with the Sun Systems application. It's known as Infor Budgeting and Forecasting, or Infor BI. It is a business intelligence module that's very capable. Now, we wanted to look, we went out to the marketplace exploring what Microsoft has to offer and what we can provide our Microsoft customers, and we're offering them Board. Okay, so Board is a very functionally rich. So and to be fair, even though I'm saying these statements to you to share, the commercial realities of these relationships, technically speaking, either one of those products can be interrelated between Sun Systems and Microsoft customers. So the technology is very capable to handle any of those needs. So let's talk about one aspect, I suppose, of streamlining the budgeting process, and that is collaboration. I think collaboration is one of your best wins, one of your best, I suppose, business drivers to wanting to streamline the budget. And one of the benefits that all the technology that we offer provides is the different user interfaces, okay? There's nothing worse than thinking that you've spent all of this wonderful time, 6 months, 12 months, 2 years in some cases, building up a wonderful Excel model, and then no one uses it, okay? There's nothing more deflating. And normally it's because the user interface of Excel can actually intimidate some users. It doesn't intimidate finance users because we love it. We use it all the time. But if we wanted to get budget owners, budget managers, budget contributors involved in the budget process, then we need to give them the interface of choice. So you'll see here that, of course, I can have the core application available. I can communicate with people in Outlook or email. SharePoint is becoming very popular as far as the way in which people do their daily work and have that social media content involved in their budgeting requirement. I can still offer Excel to the power users. You can see over here I can also talk about PDAs. Tablets are very popular, okay? Windows 8 is obviously pushing that a little bit further into the business community. The iPads have been very popular for a very long time, and they're also creeping into the business. And of course you want people to be on the web. So we can allow anyone either inside our business or external to our business to be a budget contributor or a budget owner or even a budget analyzer, and that is a wonderful concept that will give you a lot of speed efficiencies. Now that I've got everyone using my budgeting tool, the next thing that I need that I can actually start doing is that I can start automating calculations and business drivers and allocations of all of that wonderful data, okay? Because some of the data will be, I suppose, scientific or come from structured sources like, other payroll systems or other finance systems or other data sources, or it can be manually derived by people actually coming up with their own numbers or something on the back of a napkin or something, a bit more scientific than that. Now, before I go into some of the navigation things, there's just one other question I'd like to talk about in the poll, and that is, what do you use as your budgeting tool today? Okay? If I could just give everyone a couple of seconds just to answer that, very simple. Is it Excel or is it something else? Okay? And that will, let's just get those answers up on the board in about 3 seconds. And I think we'll find that there we go, 85% of you are using Excel. okay, and 15% might have another technology different to what we're currently offering here, and that technology might also need a bit of a review and the like. But it's very nice to realise that once I've got all of this data in there, things like rolling forecasts, doing top-down, doing like or seasonal adjustments is very, very simple because I've got all of that information in one spot, okay? And this is actually a screen from the budgeting, one of our budgeting tools, and you can see that we can customize the look and feel. This is just a logo that we've put into the screen, and these are definitive buttons where we're actually asking people to be a part of or derive automatic calculations for the rolling forecast. And of course, they will be user-defined. Now, the other thing, when we start having so many people involved in our budgeting process, we want to control how that works. So the budgeting cycle is very user-definable. Once again, you'll see a screen here that is just a subset of any way, I suppose, in which you can navigate. So we can have any one of these statuses, green, and green obviously being that it's open and ready for application, or red being that part of the budget cycle is closed. Now that you've become a central, I suppose, budget manager, you can actually visualize where everyone is at instead of getting on the phone, instead of following up with emails, instead of having board meetings and everything, and slowing up that process. We're all going to be online now. We're going to interact with each other, and we're going to see it all instantly, which is obviously extremely beneficial if we want to stream up this process. The other thing when you start talking about monitoring and control, and this is just another, I suppose, view of the world, is that there are components of any budget that you'd like to leave open. So you might only want to do a quick reforecast at a product level, for example. So you turn off all the other components of the product, and then you turn off all other elements, I suppose, or measures of the budget, and you just allow the product to be up for review. Once again, another view of the world, you can see that very easily. Up here you can see that I've got a few years on here. If I wanted 20 years up in that area and analyse 20 years, we've got no problem in how many years we capture, no problem in how many versions we hold. That is all very achievable. It's all just a matter of being smart with your design and the real estate you have on that individual screen. Okay? So that's the collaboration component. All right, so we can very easily get everyone to access it, use it, different user interfaces and the like. Now we want to analyse. When we analyse the budget, you're going to have people that want to pick and choose an exact, bean, I suppose, or a widget of that budget. Now we can give that to them in a very specific format, or we can open it up and let them have numerous components of the budget. What do I mean by that? Let me go through a couple of screenshots to give you a feel of what I'm talking about. What if I want to do global updates and global initiatives across the entire budget? What you'll see here is that I'm actually, just zoom in here a little bit, I'm actually doing components of uplifts in different sort of areas. So I'm doing an uplift factor, but I'm only applying it on some tax elements and some licensing adjustments. You will see that I have licensing fees. I'm talking about liquid assets. So you can start to see that at any level, I can do over any year, over any version, I can actually do this global update function, okay? And I can use that for any, I suppose, adjustments to any component of the budget, okay? So that you can see over here, I can do that at any one of these categories, whether it's at the income level or expense level, and what have you. You will also see over here on the left another way in which I can navigate or tell people where I want them to go for the next part of the budget. Once again, very easy for people to work those things out. Okay, so now we've got the review and update simultaneously logic. Okay, what this screen actually represents is this is actually a data entry screen. Okay, so I'm asking people to review the new forecast numbers. This is what we've given you as, I suppose, the sandpit, and you then make your own version of whether that forecast is true and calculated, and then we can actually have that for comparison reasons. Okay. Once again, the selection of what products or what groups I'm looking at, or what programs, what funds, what grants, they can all be here on screen. I can graphically have it represented, and I can visualize how it is seen over any kind of measure of time and the like. Okay. Once again, this is a different view, but a couple of things that I want to focus in on this kind of data entry is the fact of, you'll see that I've got the different, I suppose, group buys of each of those components of the budget. So I'm giving each of those, I suppose, measures of that budget very easily with the drop-downs available, and then they can just continuously analyse. And you'll see down here that if I'm making adjustments to certain areas, I can actually apply notes or descriptions or conversations. Those conversations get written away and kept against that version so that I can do further review later on as well. Okay, so that is quite nice. Once again, graphical representation, data entry, many ways in which to view the data, and communication methods all on the same screen. Okay. Now, once I'm doing this kind of stuff as well, now I'm just going to let the data tell me what is going to happen with my budget. And I can actually use the same screens and tools to monitor my progress of the budget during the year. So these tools can also be the framework by which I report and monitor during the year. Now, these things are as, we've got so many different graphs. I can't show you all of them, but what I like about this is that this is very graphically represented. Color coding over widgets, so I can actually look at my top 3 products very quickly. I can then change my mind to look at different channels, so I can slice and dice the data any way I like. I can include or exclude any periods I like that I want there, but you can see I can have trend lines, big numbers, and KPIs represented very quickly. I am sure that if many managers that see that data, if it represents their world, they love that information, telling them exactly what's going on in the organisation. I highlight this screen because, in effect, this data over here on the right-hand side is actually coming from the web. So we grab market information about this sector, we bring it into the application, and then we can compare it against our own results. Okay? And that doesn't always, that information is sometimes readily available. Sometimes that information might come out in monthly magazines. Sometimes it might be an article in the Financial Review that we want to compare ourselves against. Don't care where that data is. I've made that comment a few times. But if I bring that data in and compare it to myself, then I know where I stand against other players in the marketplace. Okay, so that's analysed. All right. Like I said, I did want to keep this session short and sweet, so I do have another 5 or 10 minutes to go through. But I think it's very feasible to say that everyone on the call today will always want to ask me, okay, Mark, that's great. How much is it and how long does it take me to do? Okay, well, let's talk about how we actually find that out for you, all right? There's 3 different ways in which Professional Advantage, I suppose, can help you out. And there's probably a lot of other subsets underneath these 3 statements I've outlined here. The first one is this review current model over here, okay? Of course, we'll just be able to come out, have a look, and the discovery, I think that's reasonably obvious, but I will talk about the detail of that. And if people online have a specific focus, we've also got a method for that. So let's talk about those 3 methods just quickly. I think the first one is that if any time you look at a individual's current model, 9 times out of 10, it will probably be in a spreadsheet. Okay? So we can quickly do some analysis of those spreadsheets and come up with a way or suggestions of actually simplifying it straight off the bat. Okay? So we ignore technology for the time being. We just try and understand a few simple characteristics of how that model circulates the business, where the complications are in calculations and drivers, and the sheer volume and timelines and the like. And then we come up with a way in which we can actually simplify that for you. The next one is a discovery. Now, the discovery one is what I call, you've seen what you like, you are way too busy to sit down and analyse yourself. You want someone to come out and help you analyse it, okay? And we call those discovery sessions. Now, they're a bit more structured. They are an official engagement. We bring consultants out to see you, and they are a bit more strategic in their workshops, and they will actually give you a documented outcome that tells you the differences between what you actually want and what you need, and we focus on that specific area, and we can actually define how much that will cost and the outcomes of that. So those discovery sessions are very valuable for people that just don't have the time to do it themselves, okay? Very important. Don't underestimate the benefit of that, okay? There is nothing wrong with us in the finance area to budget to improve our budget. Sounds a bit ironic, but we should be doing it, okay, if we want those benefits. Then there's people with a specific focus. A lot of those customers that I showed you in the original screen, they didn't think that any technology could handle the complications of their business. And what happened was is that because they only knew Microsoft Excel, they thought that there was nothing out there that can beat Microsoft Excel. And I'm here to tell you that there is. And we have those two tools that can actually show you very dynamic capabilities as far as managing transactions and managing outcomes. Okay? So while this webinar was specifically focused on budgeting and forecasting outcomes, the same technology can go from budgeting, forecasting, planning, strategy, and also reporting outcomes. Okay? So we can cover the whole spectrum very nicely for you. Okay? And that's where I'm talking about. If you've got a specific need, then I'll come out and we will actually address that for you in a very specific way. Okay. Okay, so I've just got one last question. It actually does relate to, I suppose, my first question on the speed and time in which it does take people to do their budget. So I'm just going to launch this poll for you. Very simple question. Just give yourself a couple of seconds to answer that. Do you currently conduct rolling forecasts? Okay, and I'll just make some comments about, I suppose, the concepts of what makes rolling forecasts easy and hard. I personally think that rolling forecasts are becoming a lot more important. Okay, now let's see what everyone's at. Okay, so we are seeing that there is a bit of a split on people that are doing rolling forecasts. Now, what's still interesting to me is that doing that, corresponding that information with the first question of 85%, 80% of you are using Excel, there seems to be I would assume that the 45% that are doing rolling forecasts are doing it, I don't know, in a quite a stressful framework, if you like, and puts a lot of time pressure on you, mainly because of the science, the automation of data collection, and I suppose the way in which to do it. Some people can do it very quickly, and they appreciate that it's not 100% accurate, but they do it anyway. So that's nice information to be aware of, that we are getting more and more requests to streamline not just the budgeting process, but more specifically creating an environment where rolling forecasts are actually happening monthly and actually happening at a push of the button. Okay? Imagine your world when you can say that I can produce a rolling forecast for you this afternoon, stress-free, without anyone's help. Okay? And that's probably another subset of that question. That is all from this session. Thanks again for everyone's attendance, and we will be in touch. Thank you and goodbye.